So what do you say to a man who's watching this right now and he's admitting to himself, I think I have a problem. I have a pornography problem. What's the first step to overcoming this?
Well, once you've admitted to yourself, the next step has to be admitting it to another person.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
where does shame come from? You know, shame is you telling yourself you're a bad person for what you're doing. Guilty is you're a good person that does some bad things. So if you're not talking about it, if you're holding it back because you're concerned with the judgment of other people. So if I say this is this person, they're going to judge me on who I am, not on what I'm doing, but they're going to judge me. That means that I'm worried about my behavior. That means I'm layered with shame. Well, how do we need to get out of that? We have to find the strength and courage to talk about it. So once you've admitted it to yourself, the next step, man, is literally admitting it to somebody else. Now, make sure it's the right person, though. Make sure it's somebody that you feel safe with. Make sure it's somebody that is true, you can truly trust. It shouldn't be your wife. It shouldn't be your girlfriend. Ideally, a man, older, mentor, coach, pastor, somebody that holds an authority position, and somebody that when you look at them, how they live, the character that they hold, you're like, I want to be like that guy. Because here's what's going to happen is you're going to go shared with him. Granted, he's the right person, and it's a safe place to have the real conversation. He's going to put his arm around you and say, you know what, E? I get that, man. And I dealt with that same thing too. And I had to overcome it in my life before I got where I was today. So once you've admitted to yourself, find somebody in your life that you truly trust and just have that open conversation with them.
That reminds me of a technology I saw recently. For a while there, I was looking for different filters, Wi-Fi filters, blockers for any and every aspect of my home, and I came across one that was about overcoming pornography, but it was associated with a friend. The technology would only work if you had someone to be accountable to. I forget what it was called, but the minute you
Covenant
said that,
Eyes?
Maybe that's it. I know that's one of them that I looked into.
I think so. Yeah, that's the one. So that's the only one that I've decided to promote, support. We've partnered with them because of that piece, right? You know, normal blocker, normal software, if there's nobody else tied to it, if you want the drug bad enough, if you put the blocker on, you know how to take it off.
Sure.
So that's why a lot of those things don't work. But when there's an external person, so there's three types of accountability, righty? You have your own personal, like self accountability. This is your ability to self-regulate, to have discipline, and hold off on doing the things you want now because you know there's a bigger reward waiting for you in the future. So self-accountability. All men struggling with porn need to learn to develop that. There's peer accountability though, too. Like I'm sure this is what they get inside your Kings program. This is what they get in the comment section down here as well. It's like when you're working and you're going down a journey with other men, the peer accountability is incredibly powerful because it's like, hey, I'm not the only one struggling with this.
Right.
If you're struggling with self-accountability though, the only way you're going to develop the self-accountability is through expert or external accountability. So you need somebody that's kind of already transcended this himself, is kind of outside of the struggle. So the peers are in the struggle with you. The external or the external accountability is kind of outside of it. And they can see and navigate and they can say, hey man, 3 weeks down the road, like you need to be worried with this. When you said this thing this way, I understand what you were thinking, but let's reframe your language here a little bit. So if you want to improve your self-accountability, you need to get some external accountability to help you. And we've all experienced this in our life. You know, you got kids, obviously, and at one point you were a child as well. I was. When we were kids, though, like our parents had to tell us to brush our teeth, right? It's like every night before you go to bed, go brush your teeth. Like, I don't want to. I want to have stinky breath when I go to bed, whatever the case may be. But now, when you're in your 40s, like your mom doesn't have to call you every night to say, Elliott, make sure you brush your teeth. No, you have an internal habit that was created, though, through years and years and years of external accountability. Mm-hmm. So this is why it's so important, man, that we have to get in conversations and community and get some help outside of ourselves. Because if we're struggling with the self-accountability or the self-regulation, the only way we're going to be able to build that and create that in our life is by having some form of external that's going to be able to walk us through, coach us through, and help us in that process of building that up in our life.